All right, in this video, we're going to talk about how you can actually have the motivation to make that change or start something new in your life. I can't tell you how many times over the last few years I've gotten on calls with people and they might be an entrepreneur that will have a great business idea or they've got very clear goals in their mind, but they can't actually even have the motivation to get started. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people wanting to get down to a certain goal weight or build muscle up to a certain goal weight, and they lack the discipline to actually make it happen. And then with other people, I've even seen people want to run an ultra marathon. They might listen to David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me, get all fired up, but then they won't even make it to race day. This actually comes down to two things. It comes down to either motivation or discipline or both. And I've seen this happen with so many people, and there's 4 big reasons why this happens. I've seen it affect many different people in many different ways, and these 4 points are the 4 most common reasons I've seen that happen. So hopefully through this video, I can help you gain that motivation or help you get started at least having the discipline to reach your goals, to where you can actually find that success or that happiness, whatever it is you're looking for. Most people I talk to and most people I see out there have all the best intentions. You know, they might really want to create a business, an online business that allows them to travel the world or have that lifestyle that they want, or they have a great idea that's going to bring a lot of value to other people. A lot of people, will have those workout goals to where they want to, have a better body than they've ever had before, be healthier than they've ever been before, do some big goal like running an ultra marathon, all that. A lot of people have great intentions out there, but so few people are successful in making their goals happen because of a lack of motivation or lack of discipline, or both. And with many people, it is both. I talk to so many people that are beating themselves up because they're not heading in the right direction towards their goals, and they shouldn't be beating themselves up. This affects many different people for different ways. Some people, it's their upbringing. Some people, it's just the place that they're at in their life with their mindset. Some people, it has to do with their current job situation or financial situation. Hopefully in this video though, you're going to at least take a step in the right direction towards making your goals happen, whether that's starting a new business or starting a new workout plan or running an ultra marathon, whatever it means for you. So the very first reason for this is actually probably the most common reason I see out there affecting many different people out there. And this actually has to do with a physics concept. When you take the physics concept of friction, this very much applies right here. So when you have 2 objects that are at rest, when you've got static friction, the force of friction is actually greater when the objects are at rest than when it's actually moving. So take a person trying to push a boulder. When the boulder's at rest, the person's trying to push the boulder. It's a lot harder to get it moving than to keep it moving. Once it's already moving, it's a lot easier to keep it going. And this very much applies towards meeting your goals. Very clear way I've seen this happen so many times is I've talked to so many young entrepreneurs that will have a great business idea. They'll actually have a beautiful business plan laid out. They'll know what to do, or they have a mentor telling them exactly what to do, but yet it's so hard to get off the ground. And that very much applies to friction. It's very much the same thing. For a lot of people out there, you've got to just get moving. Once you've got that momentum, then you're going to have the motivation keep fueling you, and your motivation will grow and grow, and you'll gain the discipline to keep moving towards your goals. A lot of times, probably the most common thing I've seen is that people don't even take the first step towards making that goal actually happen, whether that's starting a business or starting a workout plan, whatever it is. It's that first step in getting the momentum going that kills so many different people out there towards meeting their goals. They don't actually get started. So I get asked all the time, how do I gain the motivation to actually get started, when I'm, feeling lazy or something like that. And that's where I tell people you can start small. So many people right now with social media are feeling like they don't have time to make things happen. You can have patience with this, but the whole point here is you need to start taking those steps to making your goals happen. You don't have to act like you've got to have it done by tomorrow. I think that's one of the biggest problems we've got in our culture right now is things have to be done right now. And I used to feel this back in the day. This used to be something that did cause me stress. If you haven't seen my how to deal with stress video, definitely check that out. That definitely applies to what we're talking about today. But you don't need to make things happen overnight. But what's going to happen if you can start small, take those small steps will eventually, 1, compound to where on their own is turning into a lot of big progress. But then 2, when you have those small steps, they start to compound, and then you can actually turn those to bigger and bigger steps, and it won't feel like you're taking this big of a change, making this big of a change. So what I tell people is build a habit. It takes about 66 days to make a habit, make a daily action automatic, to where You don't really even have to think about it. It's not a big deal at all. To actually truly create a concrete habit, it takes about 66 days or 2 months. So what you want to do is start with something small. In the video I talked about with stress, this is where I talked about meditation. Start small, do 10 minutes a day of meditation. This is where when, trying to create an online business or trying to, train for an ultra marathon or something like that, start small with it and make it a habit. And then what will happen is over time, that habit, you can then compound on top of it. So this might mean for you, if you're trying to create a business, work on your business maybe an hour a day. If that's all you can handle, that's all you can get going to where you have the discipline to at least do an hour a day. Do an hour a day for 66 days, 2 months. And then what's going to happen is then you're going to start going ahead and making that bigger and bigger and bigger. You might end up working on it 4 hours a day, then 8, and so on. But the biggest thing is you've got to get that first initial momentum. Once you get that, then it becomes so much easier. And that's what the big thing I tell a lot of people. It's not this, hard to get off the ground thing all the time. Yes, running a business or running an ultra marathon always have their challenges, but the first part is some of the hardest part for a lot of people. And this is one big thing I've seen too. So many people, essentially they're dealing with laziness. That's what comes down to them not reaching their goal. It comes down to laziness, and this a lot of times fixes laziness. You don't need to go ahead and make this drastic lifestyle change overnight. This is where if you start small and build those small habits, either one, you can go ahead and add on other habits over time, or you can make those small habits bigger and bigger and bigger by adding time allotted towards whatever it is you're doing. But by starting these habits and keeping those habits and really, really locking those in as automatic parts of your lifestyle, that's then where this is going to ultimately fix laziness. And this directly leads into point number 2. And this really does have to do a little bit more with motivation than on the discipline side. And that's that so many people don't actually know what success feels like, whether that's meeting a goal, like finishing an ultra marathon, or, actually having money come in with your first online business, whatever that means for you. A lot of people don't actually know what success feels like. And so this is where if you build those habits, like in point 1, if you build the habits, those small successes, the day-to-day successes, feeling yourself inch closer and closer and closer to your goal. This might be, every week you see a pound come off the scale, or you might see, your run times get a little bit faster, or you might see, your website. If you're creating a website, you get a little bit more done. This will fuel the fire and allow you to become more and more and more motivated. And then what you'll see will happen is then you'll devote more time or more effort to the goal you're trying to do. So it actually fuel itself, and you'll have more and more motivation come out of it. So that's where you've got to go ahead and you've got to do step 1, which is you've got to get that momentum going, because not only once you get the momentum going is it easier to keep going, but then 2, it actually fuels your fire, fuels the motivation to get you going even harder. I've seen this with not only my own online businesses, but then I've seen this even with running. When I go out there and I'm running in the first few weeks, years ago when I was wanting to do my first 50K ultra marathon, the first few weeks sucked. I'm talking like sucked. And I wanted to quit. But then I quickly saw that 1, it was getting easier, and 2, my run times were getting faster and I was able to go longer. So once I had that then I was fueled up even more. And then when I actually end up finishing the 50K, then I was fired up and I wanted to do a 50 miler. Then I did the 50 miler. Now I'm motivated to do a 100 miler. It fuels itself, but you've got to have those small successes in the beginning to then grow and grow and grow. And then you'll have those small successes will fuel the fire to have a little bit bigger ones. And then you'll want to go ahead and reach even bigger goals. The third big reason I see for people not reaching their goals or lacking the motivation or disciplines is that they're actually burdened by the enormity of the goal. So a lot of people will have this enormous goal to, start their first online business. And yeah, they might see, on YouTube, everybody makes it look so easy or something like that. But when they actually come down and look at all the steps that go into place, it looks like an enormous goal, and then they get burdened by it. And I can't tell you how many times I've talked to young entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs wanting to create an online business, and they know what goes into it. And so when it actually comes down to getting started, they're essentially afraid. They're afraid, 1, that it could fail. And then 2, they're afraid of the enormity of it, the workload of it, the time allotted to it, how much all of that's going to take. And that's where I tell you that it'd be better to break it up into smaller chunks. This is where it's all coming back to create those small habits, focus on day-to-day stuff. Back when I was in the military, the very popular thing, we'd go to the range and it was always focus on the 25-meter target. We had 25-meter targets all the way up to 300 meters away targets. And the priority is that closest target. That's the one that's posing the most danger to you. So the big phrase in the military is focus on the 25-meter target. Focus on what's right in front of you. You can always have the 300-meter target, those long-term end goals in mind. But what you really need to focus on is those day-to-day tasks that need to get done. So then what will happen is if you do that, one, you're building those habits, and two, then you'll look back and a week goes by and you're like, wow, I just got all of that done, and you're that much closer towards the end goal. And it won't be, this big enormous goal that will, essentially lock you down with fear. If you focus on your day-to-day tasks, it's going to make it seem much more doable than just focusing on the big long-term things. So focus on the 25-meter target, focus on what's right in front of you, what needs to get done today, and it will make things a lot easier to handle, and you have a lot more motivation to actually be disciplined to make those things happen. Now, if you're actually afraid of, say, the time investment it's going to take, or the effort that it's going to take to go out there and do that goal, or maybe even the capital, maybe it's you investing money into starting your business, maybe you're actually afraid of the risk of it, that's where you really need to focus on the goal. You do need to have that end goal in mind and think truly, how will you feel at the end of it? How happy will you feel when you actually make that goal happen? How happy will you feel when you have that financial freedom? Or how happy will you feel when you're at the finish line, putting that medal around you? How happy will you feel with all that? You need to really, really try to feel that emotion, and that will really, really do a lot better job of taking away that fear for you and actually help you get started. But you've got to think about how you will actually feel, and you've actually got to try to feel that motion within yourself. And this is where meditation really comes in. If you're able to meditate on that, meditate and the kind of that end state that you meeting your goal like it's already happened, this will help out a lot. And you can also think about the flip side of it. I wouldn't focus too much on this, but you can focus on the flip side of if you don't actually strive towards your goal or do anything towards your goal, you don't ever meet your goal, and you're in the same situation you're in right now, how would you feel with that? So you can think about the negative as well. I wouldn't focus too much on that. I would focus way more on the happy, positive emotions that you'd have when you meet that goal. But it is good to then feel how you would feel if you don't actually focus on your goal and strive towards your goal and actually make your goal happen. So then this brings us into the fourth big problem that I see. Now, this is one that's not as common, at least not as common with the entrepreneurs I see. Maybe this is a little bit more common with people more on the fitness side and all that. And that's people not actually having very clear goals. I'll see so many people, will want to get into the gym and they just want to look good. Or someone might want to go out and they just want to run to look good. When you don't have very, very clear goals, it's hard to actually stay disciplined with actually making it happen. You might have that initial motivation to look good, but then when it's actually hard, or say you're supposed to go out for your workout right now, but you're playing video games or you're not motivated to go do it, you lack the discipline to actually make that happen. This is where you need very, very clear goals. This might mean you want to lose 20 pounds. You have a very clear number in mind, or you want to run this race. And that's where if you do want to run a race, I can do a whole video on races themselves. Sign up for the race. If you sign up for the race, it kind of locks things in for you. If you want to, have an online business, have end goals in mind of what you want that to look like. It could be who you're going to serve with what, or it could be you want to give your family this certain type of financial security with this house or this vacation or whatever it is. Actually have very, very clear goals in mind. And this is where it's very, very powerful if you have a vision board. I've talked about vision boards in the past, but having very, very clear goals is extremely important. I see most people have this, but there are a lot of people out there that, frankly, they would have the discipline and all that if they actually had clear goals in mind. And this is just a simple little fix for them, creating a vision board, journaling, all of this helps, but actually have those clear set goals in mind. So to recap, the 4 big points that I see people lack the motivation or discipline to actually make their goals happen or even get started is 1, the friction concept. You've got to get that momentum going. And this is where building a habit, even if it's a small habit, will really, really help you. 2, it's having no idea what the success actually looks like or feels like. And then 3, it's actually being burdened down by the enormity of the goal. And this is where we're breaking it up. into small successes will lead to greater successes. And then 4 is actually having very, very clear-cut goals. But if you have all 4 of these in place, this is where you will at least have a little bit more motivation, a little bit more discipline to make things happen. If you have just a little bit more motivation, a little bit more discipline, you'll see you'll inch yourself a little bit closer. And it's just like point 1 with the friction concept. Once you have a little bit more momentum, you're heading in the right direction. So that's the big thing. Really get that first initial momentum, and you guys will be good to go. Now, there's so many different reasons that go into this, so many deeper concepts with discipline and how to lock down discipline in your life and motivation. This is why, I initially got into ultra running was for a couple of these points. But if you guys have any questions about this, I'd love to go ahead and connect with you one-on-one with this. Definitely drop comments down below. I'd love to help you with this if you're struggling with this, because I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people that know what they want, and they've got a great plan in place, but they can't get off the ground. I can't tell you how many times it happens. So if you feel this way, don't be beating yourself up. That's only going to make things worse. Don't beat yourself up. Try to be in a positive headspace. But you can make it happen. But if you need any help with this, I'd love to go ahead and help you guys. Go ahead and smash that like button down below. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Leave any comments or questions, guys. Be happy, be positive, be powerful, and have a great rest of your day.